My parents packed their suitcases for my sister's birthday vacation, while I stood confused about why my bags weren't ready. My mom pointed at the table. Someone has to finish your sister's work, stay home, and be useful for once. I didn't say a word. When they left, I did something they never saw coming. Hey Reddit, long-time lurker, first-time poster. This is the story of how my parents did me dirty my whole life, how I finally snapped, and the whole shit show that followed. Grab your popcorn and enjoy. Name's Luke, 19 male. Growing up, I learned real quick that some kids are born to be trophies and others are born to be furniture. I was the furniture, Andrea was the trophy. My parents made that clear from the time she could walk. It was her birthday when everything imploded. My dad dropped a stack of papers on the kitchen counter while my mom zipped up Andrea's third suitcase. I stood there like an idiot, waiting for someone to tell me where my luggage was. You'll handle all of this while we're gone, my dad said. Andrea's teachers agreed to accept late work since she's on a family cruise. Consider it your birthday present to her. Let me back up because this didn't start with a cruise. The favoritism wasn't new. It's been there my whole life, just got worse as we got older. Small stuff at first. She got the bigger bedroom, the newer laptop, the car with less than 200,000 miles on it. Her college fund had regular deposits. Mine had dust. My parents paid for her cheer uniforms and competition fees without blinking. My wrestling gear came out of my summer job money. Dad would say stuff like, girls need more support, or your sister has social obligations. Mom was worse. She'd actively pit us against each other, then act shocked when Andrea treated me like garbage. The real shift happened around Andrea's freshman year, when she figured out crying got her anything she wanted. I watched her perfect it like a science experiment. Our parents ate it up every single time. First major incident, she borrowed my laptop for a history test, swore she'd give it back by 9, I had a paper due. At 10, I knocked on her door. She told me to get lost. At midnight, I knocked again. She came out crying, told our parents I'd been harassing her all night while she was trying to study, and made some BS up about me calling her stupid. Dad looked at me like I'd committed a war crime, sent me to my room without even asking my side. My laptop showed up the next day with a cracked screen and coffee stains all over the keyboard. When I showed them, Andrea cried harder and said I was trying to frame her because I was jealous of her grades. Mom made me apologize to her. After that, I learned to shut up and stay invisible. Andrea would create chaos, I'd get blamed. Any protest made me the bad guy. The pattern repeated on loop. The cruise announcement came 3 weeks before her birthday. They called a family meeting. Dad explained they'd planned something special for Andrea's sweet 16 8-day Caribbean cruise, with travel, 9 days door-to-door, all the bells and whistles. The whole family's going, Mom said with this big smile. I actually felt something close to excitement. Maybe this was different. Luke stays home, obviously, Mom added, like she was mentioning the weather. Someone needs to watch the house and handle Andrea's schoolwork. She can't be stressed about homework while celebrating her birthday. The excitement died right there. Andrea's smile was pure poison. You get it, right, Luke? This is my special day, my trip. Some of us actually matter. I nodded because arguing with them was like arguing with a wall. Said I understood and went to my room. The next 3 weeks were hell. Andrea's excitement filled every corner of the house. Shopping bags appeared daily. Mom took her for spa treatments and mani-pedis. Dad bought her an underwater camera that cost more than my car insurance. Her friends came over constantly to squeal about how lucky she was, and Andrea made sure I was in earshot for every conversation. I'm just so blessed, she'd say in that fake sweet voice. I spent those weeks job hunting. My birthday was 4 days into their trip and I'd had enough. Turned 18 meant legal freedom. Meant I could get a bank account without their names on it. Meant I could leave. Found a warehouse job across town. Full-time, decent pay, benefits after 3 months. Told my parents it was part-time work to stay busy while they were gone. They didn't even pretend to listen. But I also called my grandpa Walter. He lived 2 states over, and he was the only one who ever treated me like a real person. I told him about the cruise, the homework dump, all of it. His response was just 4 words. Good. Get out, son. That's when I knew I was making the right call. The morning they left, I set my alarm for 4:30. Some outdated part of me still thought families were supposed to say goodbye properly. Dad was already in the kitchen scrolling through his phone when I came downstairs. I said good morning. He grunted. That was the extent of our interaction. Andrea thundered down wearing a new outfit. She looked at me and her whole face soured. That's when Dad picked up the massive stack of homework and dropped it in front of me. Andrea's teachers agreed to take this late since she's traveling for her birthday. Needs to be done and turned in Monday morning or she fails 3 classes. I stared at the pile English essays on books she definitely hadn't read, math worksheets she'd ignored all semester, a history project on the Cold War complete with citations, and a bibliography 30, maybe 40 hours of work. You're serious right now. Do I look like I'm joking? Dad's voice had that edge. You're living under our roof, eating our food. This is a simple ask. Don't make it difficult. I have a job starting Monday. Then manage your time better. This is what family does for each other. Mom appeared with Andrea's neck pillow and her precious travel blanket. Sweetheart, don't fight this. The arrangements are already made with her teachers. Just do the work. Andrea examined her nails. Honestly, Luke, most people our age balance jobs in school. Stop being dramatic. These are your assignments, your grades. She shrugged. And you're my brother. Brothers help. That's how it works. I looked at my mom, then my dad, waiting for one of them to acknowledge how insane this was. Neither did. They were already moving on, checking the time and calculating traffic. How long will you be gone? I asked. Andrea's laugh was cruel. Long enough for you to finally contribute something useful to this family. They left 20 minutes later. Mom gave me a distracted wave. Dad didn't even look back. Andrea blew a kiss from the car window. The house went quiet, and I stood in that kitchen staring at homework that wasn't mine, feeling something settle in my chest. I picked up the stack and set it on my desk. Then I pulled out my phone and made one call. Grandpa Walter answered on the second ring. You leaving? Today. Soon as I finish packing. Good man. You need money? I've been saving. Got a job lined up and a room rented. I'm good. There was a pause. Then he said something that didn't make sense until later. Your parents are going to regret this, Luke. More than they know. You just focus on yourself now. I'll handle the rest. I didn't ask what he meant. Just said thanks and hung up. That Saturday I spent packing. Clothes, laptop, documents I'd been collecting for weeks. Birth certificate, social security card, school records. I'd requested duplicates from the office, claiming I needed them for college applications. My grandpa's watch he gave me everything fit in 2 duffel bags and a backpack. 18 years in 3 bags. Then I started the real work. The photos. Our house was covered in them. Hallway walls, mantle, every shelf and surface I went through systematically. Any photo with me in it got removed. Some I kept because they were from before things went bad. Most I didn't need. They were lies anyway. Fake smiles covering years of being invisible. For every photo I took, I left the frame empty. Wanted them to see exactly how many moments I'd been erased from. Wanted them to walk in and see nothing but blank spaces where I used to be. Took me 3 hours. Then I dealt with Andrea's homework. Didn't throw it away. Instead, I read through every single assignment, saw exactly how little work she'd done all semester, and put it all back in a neat stack. Left a sticky note on top in big letters. Not my problem, good luck. Then I grabbed the family calendar off the kitchen wall. Mom's pride and joy, color-coded and organized within an inch of its life. Andrea's stuff was all in purple doctor appointments, cheer practice, friend hangouts, spa days. My college application deadlines were in pencil. Easy to erase. My birthday wasn't marked at all. I took a red marker, circled the date 5 days from now, and wrote, Luke turns 18 and moves out, in the biggest letters that would fit. Left it open on the counter where they'd see it first thing. Then I walked out, locked the door, and drove to my new place. Never looked back. My birthday came at 5 in the morning in a warehouse parking lot. No cake, no cards, no family singing off-key. Just me in my car drinking gas station coffee and watching the sun come up. Thinking this was already better than any birthday they'd given me. The warehouse job was exactly what I needed. Unloading trucks, moving inventory, scanning boxes. My supervisor Tony was this 50-something guy with a beard and a limp from a knee surgery gone wrong. He took one look at me first day and said I looked like someone running from something. I told him it was more like running towards something. He laughed and said that was usually better. Tony became the first person in a long time who treated me like I had value. Showed me the ropes, didn't hover, gave me real responsibility. By day 3, he had me training new people. By day 5, he told me I had potential and asked if I was planning to stick around long term. I told him yeah, meant it too. The room I'd rented was in a house owned by this woman, Margaret. Late 60s, retired teacher, lost her husband a few years back. She'd converted 2 bedrooms into rentals to help with expenses, and because she said the house was too quiet alone. My room was small. Bed, desk, dresser. But nobody was screaming through the walls. Nobody blaming me for things I didn't do. Margaret's rules were simple. Keep it clean, no noise after 10, pay rent on time. That was it. No manipulation, no guilt trips. Felt like I'd moved to another planet. The days blurred together. Work at 6, home by 4, quick dinner, study for the classes I was still finishing, sleep by 10. The routine was steady. Every day that passed without someone yelling at me or Andrea sabotaging something felt like proof I'd made the right call. I didn't contact my parents. They didn't contact me either, which hurt less than I expected. They were living it up on a cruise ship, and I was moving boxes in a warehouse. And somehow, I was happier than I'd been in years. Day 8. I went back to the house one last time, still had my key. Needed to grab a few things I'd forgotten, and honestly wanted to see if they'd called or texted. My phone had been off for days. The house felt dead. I walked through grabbing last essentials. My good winter coat, a few books, the wrestling medals I'd won that they'd shoved in a drawer. Checked my phone before I left 20 missed calls. 2 voicemails. 12 texts. All from the last 6 hours. Deleted everything without listening or reading. Blocked all 3 numbers. Then I walked out, locked the door for the last time, and drove back to Margaret's place. My new life was waiting. They could figure out their own. The calls didn't stop. They just went to voicemail. I never checked. Instead, I got a call from Mr. Carlson, my history teacher, and the only adult at school who'd ever noticed something was off with my family. Luke, I need to talk to you about something. Your parents called the school asking for your whereabouts. They also called about Andrea's missing assignments. He paused. Want to tell me what's going on? I moved out. Got a job and a place. I'm good. And the homework they mentioned? Not my homework. Not my problem. Andrea had all semester to do it. That's on her. Silence stretched out. Then Mr. Carlson said something that surprised me. Good for you, Luke. You deserve better. But your parents are insistent. They're coming to the school tomorrow and they think you're in danger or kidnapped or something dramatic. Tell them I'm an adult and I don't want contact. That's all they need to know. I will. But they're also demanding the school force you to complete Andrea's work, since they'd arranged it with her teachers. Just giving you a heads up that it's about to get messy. Let it get messy! I'm not doing her homework. He laughed. Never thought you would. Take care of yourself, kid. That evening, Margaret knocked on my door. Your parents are here. They're on the porch and they look agitated. Thought you should know before they start making a scene. My stomach dropped. Did you tell them I live here? I told them I have a tenant named Luke, but I don't discuss my tenants with strangers. They're persistent, though. You should handle it. I followed her downstairs. Through the window, I could see Dad pacing the front lawn like a caged animal. Mom sat in the car on her phone. Andrea was in the back scrolling through hers. I opened the door and stepped onto the porch. Margaret stayed inside, but visible. Back up if I needed it. Dad spotted me and his expression went from relief to rage in half a second. What the hell is this, Luke? Where have you been? Your room is empty, you're not answering calls, and Andrea's failing 3 classes because you didn't do her work. I moved out. We can see that. His voice was rising. Why? You're still in high school. You have responsibilities here. Andrea's homework isn't my responsibility. Mom got out of the car then, her face tight with anger. Luke, stop this. You're being childish. If this is about the cruise, we can talk about it. But running away and sabotaging your sister's education is unacceptable. I moved out. There's a difference. I'm employed, I pay rent, and I'm managing fine. You can't just leave, Dad said. His jaw was clenched. You're coming home right now. I'm 18. You can't make me. We're your parents. You were my parents when you left me home from a vacation to do someone else's homework. You were my parents when you forgot my birthday existed. You were my parents when you spent 18 years making it clear I was less important than her. I pointed at the car where Andrea was watching. So no, I'm good. Andrea finally got out, face red. You're so freaking dramatic. You're mad because you didn't get to go on my birthday trip. Grow up, Luke. The world doesn't revolve around you. I laughed. Yeah, wouldn't want the world to revolve around me. That's your job, right? I needed help. You needed someone to do your work because you spent all semester doing nothing. Mom stepped closer. Luke, please. We can work this out. Just come home. So things can go back to normal? Where I'm invisible except when you need something? Where Andrea gets everything and I get whatever's left over? I shook my head. I'm good where I am. You took down all the photos, Mom said suddenly. Every single one with you in it. Why would you do that? Because if I'm not important enough to take on family vacations, I'm not important enough to be in family photos. Dad's face was turning red. He moved closer, right up to the porch steps. You're being manipulative. You're trying to punish us. No, I'm establishing boundaries. I'm removing myself from a situation that was unhealthy. You can call it whatever makes you feel better. You ungrateful little... Dad started up the steps. his hand reaching for my arm. You're coming home right now. I stepped back. Don't touch me. I'm your father, and I'm an adult telling you no. That's when he grabbed my shirt, yanked me forward hard enough that I stumbled off balance. His other hand came up and shoved me backward into the porch railing. You don't get to walk away from this family like we're nothing, he said, still gripping my shirt. His face was inches from mine, red and twisted with anger. You don't get to just let go of him. Margaret's voice cut through from the doorway. Right now. Dad's hand tightened on my shirt instead. This doesn't concern you. It concerns me when someone assaults my tenant on my property. Let him go. Mom was out of the car now, rushing toward the porch. Dennis, stop it. What are you doing? He shoved me again, harder this time. My back hit the railing and pain shot through my shoulders. Coming home or I'll drag you there myself. I kept my voice level even though my heart was pounding. You put your hands on me again, and I'll call the cops. You'll what? He actually laughed but didn't let go. On your own father? Sure. Margaret already had her phone out. I'm calling the police right now. I've got this on video from my doorbell camera too. Last chance to let him go. Mom grabbed Dad's arm. Dennis, please, let him go. He held on for another few seconds, staring at me. When I didn't move, didn't react, he finally shoved me one more time and let go. This isn't over, he said. You're coming home whether you want to or not. The police are on their way, Margaret said calmly. She was still recording. Andrea was standing by the car, phone up, filming everything. For once, she looked uncomfortable. Mom was pulling on Dad's arm, trying to get him back to the car. He backed down the steps, pointing at me. You're making a huge mistake. Pretty sure you just made the bigger one, I said. They got in the car and left. Dad peeled out hard enough to leave tire marks on Margaret's driveway. Margaret lowered her phone. You okay? My shoulders hurt where I'd hit the railing, but nothing serious. Yeah, I'm good. I've got clear footage of everything. The doorbell camera caught it all. Your call on what you want to do with that. I stood there thinking about it. Part of me wanted to let it go. Family drama wasn't worth the hassle. But another part, the part that had spent 18 years being pushed around in different ways, knew this was different. He'd crossed a line, and letting him cross it without consequences just meant he'd do it again. Can you send me that footage? Already done. And Luke? People like that only stop when they face real consequences. The police showed up 20 minutes later. I gave them the full story and showed them the video. They took photos of the red marks on my shoulders, where the railing had dug in, got Margaret's statement as a witness. One officer, a woman named Harper, sat with me in Margaret's living room while her partner took notes. You're 18? She asked. Yeah, turned 18 while they were on vacation. And you moved out legally? You have a lease here? Month-to-month rental agreement I can show you. She nodded. Your father put his hands on you twice, shoved you into a railing, and threatened to physically force you to leave with him. That's assault and battery. You want to press charges? I looked at Margaret. She nodded. Yes. Okay. We'll file the report. You'll need to come down to the station tomorrow to give a formal statement. With the video evidence and witness testimony, this should be pretty straightforward. You might want to think about a restraining order too, especially if he threatened to come back. He did. Officer Harper handed me a card. Call this number tomorrow. They can walk you through the restraining order process. Given what happened tonight and the threats, you'll likely qualify for a temporary one, immediately full hearing within a couple weeks. After they left, I sat on Margaret's couch feeling numb. She brought me tea and sat down across from me. You did the right thing, she said again. Doesn't feel right. Feels like I just blew up what was left of my family. Your family blew themselves up years ago. You just stopped pretending the explosion hadn't happened. The next day, I went to the station, gave my statement, and started the restraining order paperwork. The woman helping me was patient, walking me through everything. Temporary order was granted immediately based on the assault and threats. Full hearing scheduled for 2 weeks out. Dad got served papers at his office. Found out later from Mr. Carlson that my mom had called the school crying, saying I was destroying their family. Mr. Carlson told her gently that assault charges tend to do that. The next few days brought more attempts at contact. Voicemails I didn't listen to. Texts that went to blocked numbers. Mr. Carlson called again to say my parents had shown up at school, demanding they force me to complete Andrea's homework and tell them where I was living. I told them neither was happening, he said. Documented everything and informed them you're an adult who requested no contact. They were not happy. Your dad was making threats about calling the police. I laughed. For what? I'm 18 and I left voluntarily. There's no crime here. That's what I told them. They left, but your mom was crying and your dad was making threats about lawyers. Thought you should know. Be careful, Luke. Through people still at school, I heard Andrea's academic situation went from bad to catastrophic. She'd been placed on academic probation. The teachers refused to accept late work since it never materialized. My parents tried arguing that I'd agreed to complete it, but without me there to confirm or complete it, there was nothing to submit. She was going to fail 3 classes. Summer school was her only option to stay on track for graduation. I felt zero guilt about it. Work became my anchor. Tony noticed I showed up early, stayed late, worked harder than guys twice my age, started giving me more responsibility, training people, managing inventory, coordinating truck schedules. One week I noticed our loading schedule had trucks waiting around for hours because of how we'd organized the dock assignments. Spent a lunch break mapping out a better rotation system. Showed Tony, and he implemented it the next day. Cut our overtime costs by 12% that month. He didn't make a big deal about it, just clapped me on the shoulder and said I was thinking like management. After 3 weeks, he pulled me aside during break. You planning to stick around long term? He asked. That's the plan. Good. I'm putting you on as a shift lead. Comes with a raise and better benefits. You've earned it. The raise was enough that I could start saving real money. Money for college, for emergencies, for a future that was mine. Tony became something close to a friend. We'd eat lunch together, and he'd tell me stories about his ex-wife's new husband, who was apparently terrible at barbecue and fishing. One day he asked about my family situation. I gave him the basics, including the assault charges. Good, he said flatly. Actions have consequences. You held him accountable, that takes guts. The restraining order hearing came 2 weeks after the assault. I showed up with Margaret, the police report, the video evidence, and photos of the bruises that had formed on my shoulders. Dad showed up with a lawyer and Mom. The hearing took less than 30 minutes. Judge watched the video, read the police report, heard both sides. Dad's lawyer tried arguing it was a family dispute that got out of hand, that I was exaggerating for attention, that my father was just trying to bring his troubled son home. The judge wasn't buying it. Your client grabbed the petitioner, shoved him twice into a railing, and threatened to forcibly remove him from the property. That's assault and battery. Add in the threats to return and finish this, and we've got clear grounds for protection. She granted a full restraining order for 12 months. Dad had to stay 500 feet away from me, Margaret's property, my workplace, and my school. Couldn't contact me directly or through third parties. Violation meant immediate arrest. Dad's face went red when the judge read the terms. Mom started crying, but neither could say anything that would change it. Walking out of that courthouse felt good, really good. 3 weeks after I left, my phone rang from a number I hadn't blocked. Grandpa Walter. Your mother called me, he said, without preamble. Gave me an earful about your dramatic exit and how worried they are, but, Luke, we need to talk. Can you come visit next weekend? There's something you need to know. About what? Better in person. I'll cover your gas money. Just come. The drive to Grandpa Walter's place took 4 hours through back roads and farmland. His house sat on 20 acres outside a town so small, it didn't have a stoplight I'd visited maybe 3 times growing up. Mom always had an excuse why we couldn't go more often. Too far. Too busy. Too expensive. Now I wondered if she'd been keeping me away on purpose. Grandpa Walter met me on the porch. He was in his 70s but still moved like a man 20 years younger. Ex-Marine, retired electrician, and the only adult in my family who'd ever treated me with basic respect. You look good, he said, pulling me into a hug. Inside, he poured us both coffee and we sat at his kitchen table. He studied me for a long moment before speaking. I'm going to tell you something your parents don't know yet. I changed my will 6 months ago. I blinked. Okay? I've been watching how they treat you for years. Every time you called, every time we talked, I heard it in your voice. The way they made you invisible. The way they threw everything at your sister and gave you scraps. He leaned back in his chair. This house, the land, my savings, my investments, all of it was supposed to be split between your mother and your uncle. But I changed it. Now it all goes to you. I stared at him. Grandpa, I can't. You're not taking anything. I'm giving it. When I'm gone, you'll have real security. Your mother, your father, your sister, they get nothing. But they're going to lose their minds. Let them. His smile was sharp. They lost the right to my money when they treated my grandson like garbage. I've already filed everything with my lawyer. They can contest it all they want, but it won't change anything. I sat there trying to process a house. Land. Real security I'd never imagined having. Why are you telling me now? Because I want you to know you have a future, Luke. You're building your own life, and that's good. But I want you to know you've got a foundation waiting when the time comes. Don't let them manipulate you with money or tears or threats. You're set. They just don't know it yet. We spent the rest of the day talking. He asked about my job, my place, my plans, told me stories about my dad's childhood I'd never heard, how Dennis had been a different person before he met my mom, how Isabel had always been obsessed with image and status, how they'd slowly poisoned each other into the mess they'd become. Your sister's a product of how they raised her, Grandpa Walter said. Doesn't excuse her behavior, but explains it. She never learned consequences because they shielded her from every single one, you though? You learned early, made you stronger. When I left that evening, he walked me to my car. Don't be a stranger, son. You're welcome here anytime. And if they make trouble, you call me, I'll handle it. I drove back to Margaret's with my head spinning. House, land, real security, a future. Proof that at least one person in my family had seen me, really seen me, and decided I was worth something. School was its own kind of hell. Andrea avoided me in the hallways, but her friends didn't. They'd whisper loud enough for me to hear. Selfish. Dramatic. Ruining her life because he was jealous I ignored them. Let them think whatever they want. Mr. Carlson pulled me aside one day after class. Your parents are still calling the school, still demanding we intervene. Want you to know the administration is backing you. You're 18, you're doing your work, and this isn't our jurisdiction. But they're making noise about suing for emotional distress. They can sue whoever they want, doesn't change anything. Plus, Dad can't contact me. Restraining order. They're being careful about that. Your mom's making all the calls now. Your dad's name isn't on anything. He handed me an envelope. This came to the school for you. Thought you might want it. Inside was a letter from my parents. I almost threw it away unread, but curiosity won. It was 3 pages of manipulation dressed up as concern. How worried they were. How I was throwing my life away. How they'd be willing to pay for college if I came home and made things right. How family was supposed to stick together through hard times. Not one word of apology. Not one acknowledgement of what they'd done. I showed it to Tony during lunch. He laughed. This is something. They're trying to buy you back. With conditions. Always is with people like that. They think love is transactional. You do what they want. They give you what you need. Problem is what you need doesn't cost money. He folded the letter. You gonna respond? No point. They wouldn't hear it anyway. But they kept trying. More letters. More calls to block numbers. More attempts through the school and through mutual family friends. Each one the same manipulation cycle. None of it worked. 2 months after I left, Andrea showed up at the warehouse. Tony came to get me during my shift. Said there was someone asking for me in the parking lot. I walked out and there she was, leaning against her car looking uncomfortable in her designer clothes and makeup. We were surrounded by warehouses and semi-trucks. She looked out of place. What do you want? I asked. To talk. Just for a minute. No parents. I crossed my arms. Talk then. I'm failing summer school. If I don't pass, I won't graduate on time. Mom and Dad are furious. They're blaming you. Sounds like a you problem. Luke, come on. I know I messed up. But I'm asking for help. Just this once. Help me pass and I'll never ask for anything again. I laughed. You're asking me to do your work again. After everything. And you think I'm going to help you now? We're family. No, we're related. There's a difference. Family doesn't treat each other like garbage. I stepped closer. You failed because you didn't do the work. That's on you. Figure it out yourself. Her eyes welled up with tears. You're really going to let me fail? I'm not letting you do anything. You're failing all on your own. But what you need is to stop expecting everyone else to fix your problems. What you need is to grow up. I turned toward the warehouse. We're done here. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. The tears dried up fast, replaced by anger. You're such a jerk, Luke. Mom was right about you. You're selfish and cruel, and you don't care about anyone but yourself. Cool. You done? She got in her car and peeled out of the parking lot. 3 days later, Grandpa Walter called. Your mother knows about the will. She called screaming about how I was punishing her and destroying the family. Thought you should know it's about to get ugly. How'd she find out? I told her. Figured it was time she knew exactly where she stood. She's threatening to contest it, get lawyers involved, the whole production. Will that work? Not a chance. He paused. But Luke, she's going to come at you hard now. Don't fall for it. I won't. Good man. Stand your ground. I'm proud of you. He was right. The next week brought a flood. Mom sent messages through extended family about how heartbroken she was. Andrea posted on social media about ungrateful family members who abandon the people who raised them and then assault their own fathers with false charges. I ignored all of it. Kept working. Kept building my life. Then Mr. Carlson called with news that changed everything. Mr. Carlson called on a Saturday morning. Luke, you need to hear this. Your parents just left the school. They met with the principal trying to force the school to intervene in your living situation. Said you'd been coerced into leaving by outside influences. Let me guess, my grandpa. Exactly. They're claiming he manipulated you into moving out so he could cut them out of his will. They want the school to document that you're being exploited. I laughed. That's creative. It gets better. The principal told them the school has no jurisdiction over your personal life, and that all documentation shows you left voluntarily after turning 18. Your mom threatened to go to the media about the school failing to protect students from family predators. She's really going all in. She's desperate. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about how far they were willing to go to maintain their version of reality. It wasn't about me. Never had been. It was about control. Monday evening, Margaret asked if I wanted to join her for dinner. We'd fallen into a routine where once or twice a week, she'd cook and we'd eat together, talking about nothing important. That night, she made pot roast. "You've been here 6 months now," she said. "Feels longer in a good way. Like you've always been here. Thanks for taking a chance on me." "Wasn't a chance. You showed up with first month's rent in cash and a work ethic. I knew you'd be fine." She paused. "You hear from your family? They're making noise. Won't work, though." "Good. Let them face the consequences." Summer turned to fall. I enrolled in night classes at community college, using my work schedule to build credits toward a degree business management. Figured if I was going to work my way up, might as well get the education to back it up. Andrea failed summer school. Had to repeat her sophomore year. Heard through the grapevine she was blaming me for ruining her life. Told anyone who'd listen that I'd sabotaged her on purpose. The charges against my dad moved through the system slowly. His lawyer got it reduced to simple assault in a plea deal, but he still had to do community service, attend anger management classes, and the restraining order stayed in place. Heard through extended family that he was furious about it, that mom was trying to smooth everything over with relatives, spinning stories about how I'd provoked him. Didn't matter. The court had the videos. The truth was on record. December came. Grandpa Walter called on Christmas Eve. "Merry Christmas, Luke. Package is coming your way. Should arrive tomorrow." You didn't have to get me anything. Had to. You're the only family worth celebrating. The package arrived Christmas morning. Inside was a new winter coat, a gift card to the grocery store, and a letter. "Luke, I'm prouder of you than I've ever been of anyone. You're going to do great things. The money's yours when I'm gone, but you've already proven you don't need it. You're going to be fine with or without it. That's what makes you worthy of it. Love, Grandpa Walter." I smiled and put the letter on my desk next to a photo Margaret had taken of us at Thanksgiving. Spring semester started at community college. I declared my major, made a plan for transferring to a 4-year school eventually, started thinking long-term. Life wasn't perfect. Some days were hard. Some nights I wondered if I'd made the right call. But then I'd wake up in my room at Margaret's, go to work where people respected me, come home to quiet and peace, and remember. This was better. This was mine. Mom sent one last letter in April. Inside was a photo of me as a kid, maybe 6, at my first wrestling match. On the back she'd written, "We're sorry. We love you, and hope one day you can forgive us." I put the photo in a drawer and went about my day. Maybe someday I'd forgive them. Maybe I wouldn't. Either way, it didn't matter. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.